Hi, good evening. It's your girl Sharon, radio personality from Mix 92.3. I'm so happy to be here with you on behalf of Gift of Life Michigan. Thank you so much for joining us for this virtual experience about important health topics that matter to you the most.
Sharon, good to be with you. Hi, everyone. I am Josh Landon, anchor and reporter for Fox 2 News, and it is my pleasure as well to join you for a second year to have a real conversation about health decisions that will truly have a great impact on any stage of our lives.
That's right, Josh. Starting a discussion about organ and tissue donation should begin early so everyone is on the same page when it comes to donation decisions. For instance, I made the decision to be a donor because I knew there was such a great need in the African American community. It's so important.
Wow, Sharon, you said it. Making the choice to become an organ donor is an important decision, one that requires background knowledge about the process. Many people don't know that there are 2,500 people waiting for a life-saving transplant in Michigan. About half are from communities of color.
Yeah, so important. That's why Gift of Life Michigan, Let's Talk campaign is so important.
Yes, learning about how we can continue the legacy of Gift of Life Michigan is one of the reasons we are here tonight. Now, I would like to introduce our panel made up of transplant recipients turned organ and tissue donation advocates who received a second chance at life. We'll begin with a brief discussion and followed by an audience Q&A, and it's called Let's Talk. Yes, I would like to introduce Fabio Fabaloa Garnett. I'm going to call you Fab Garnett. Fab Garnett. I like that. I think that suits you. I think that suits your vibe, your body language, etc. So we're going to introduce you as Fab Garnett.
That works.
All right. Fab is a volunteer with the American Heart Association. Since receiving a heart, she has become an advocate for organ and tissue donation and is thrilled to work with Gift of Life Michigan. Fab Garnett, good evening to you.
Good evening, guys. Good to see you.
Good to see you, and thank you for joining us. Also, I'd like to bring in brothers Lee Earl and Harold James. Lee Earl and I, we go back a little bit, a few years. Lee Earl is a few years, brother. Good to see you. Lee Earl is a kidney recipient. Earl is the younger brother of Lee Earl. Earl gave Lee Earl one of his kidneys when he was 33 years old. Now, you might ask how long ago that was. Both brothers are advocates for organ and tissue donation. You don't need to know how long ago it was. It happened when it happened, and there you go. You have a brother saving another brother's life, and that's what we love, for sure. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Okay. Indeed.
It's a good day, too.
Absolutely. And Sharon, I mean, it's great to be here with you, my sister, hosting this virtual event. We're going to get back to where we can do this in person consistently, for sure.
Looking forward to that, for sure. I want to make sure that if you're tuning in, encourage others to join us as well. Use the hashtag Let's Talk, hashtag Let's Talk. So let's talk, right? You guys ready?
Yeah.
Let's talk.
Got some questions for these amazing guests today. They're going to share their stories. Each of you have 2 minutes to respond. This question is for everyone, okay? Many people have suffered unimaginable loss during this pandemic, and others are just suffering from stressors, bottom line, from this pandemic as well. What has this pandemic taught you about your health?
I guess I can answer that first. For me, I realized as a transplant recipient how scary it can be to be faced with something that's absolutely unknown.
Yeah.
The first things that they tell us when you are receiving a transplant is 2 things to be afraid of: rejection and infection. And you can prevent most infections. We're used to doing all the work and making sure we get vaccinated and take good care of ourselves, wash our hands, be careful who we're around. But when something like a global pandemic happens, there really isn't any idea what to do. I spent the first 6 weeks not leaving my house, unaware of what the danger and threat was for me. So that took a lot of time to understand how to protect myself, but also coming out of those 6 weeks, how do I stay healthy so that I don't end up in rejection through this process, getting medications. There was a lot to consider during that time.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? What have you learned during this pandemic?
Yeah, CJ, one of our other panelists joining us. Thank you for coming in.
Welcome.
Everybody.
How you doing, CJ?
Man, I'm blessed. I cannot complain.
Yes, you are.
I want to kind of pick up back off what she said about the pandemic and learning things. I had to learn to be a little bit more patient again.
That's right.
Everything. And for me, the wearing of the mask and stuff like that, that wasn't foreign because I wore a mask for 2 years after having my heart transplant. So I was wearing a mask here, wearing gloves. Everything was, I was kind of used to that. But what it did to me and to this day, I'm trying to get that fear to go away. It made me be a little bit more isolated mentally again. And I was just starting to open myself up to people and doing things more. But when the pandemic hit, it made me be more health conscious and be like, okay, now put me kind of in a little fear space, and that's just me being transparent. It's one of those things. And I don't know if everybody else feels that way, but now if I'm out somewhere, if I hear somebody cough, I'm like,
oh yeah,
that's that Rona, and when you have transplant recipients and people, that already are compromised, like we are, it is tough, because I play dodgeball with people. I don't want to be around the sick people. If you're sniffling, if you're doing this, if you're doing that, this has been pretty eye-opening for me.
Yeah, I think many people share that same experience. Anyone else? When has the pandemic taught you about your health?
Yeah, the pandemic for me, it was definitely different, just like it was for everyone else. It was totally unexpected, and it affected the whole world. But as far as like just being getting a kidney transplant, I was totally prepared for the unexpected. I was always wearing a mask anyway, and I didn't take any chances. Like a lot of times, people might just say, "Oh, it ain't that bad," because they haven't experienced a real, like, significant medical illness. That much, but it is very serious. I never took it for granted from the beginning. My wife was right on top of it. Kids, they love wearing a mask. They feel like they ninjas. So, hey, it works out.
Whatever works.
I like that.
Okay. So this question goes to Fabiola, Earl, and Craig. All right. When did you first learn you needed an organ? And what were your first symptoms?
Well, you ladies first? How about that?
Oh, you're such a gentleman.
Always ladies first.
I am 30 years old. I'm 35 now. I was told at the age of 30 that I needed a heart transplant. I lived with heart disease, so it wasn't something I was expecting, but it was also not something completely out of the blue, because I did have heart disease for most of my lifetime. When I first found out I needed a transplant, I did what most people do. I broke down, I cried. I had to start thinking about what happens next. How do I get a transplant? There's a lot involved. My symptoms for me were just exacerbations of my normal heart symptoms. So I had difficulty doing normal activity. I found I was fatigued really quickly. I started holding water in places I didn't before. So swelling in my ankles, having coughing late at night. So a lot of what you would consider heart failure symptoms, I did notice right away. The big symptom I noticed that was really unique for me was that I couldn't get out of bed. And it's not like I just didn't want to get out of bed. I couldn't. I would wake up and lay there and physically not be able to bring myself out of bed because I was so exhausted. So that was unique for a 30-year-old, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I do have a follow-up question because, to your point, you're so young, so beautiful. You have your whole life in front of you. How did that affect you socially to have to deal with that as a young woman, not being able to get out the bed?
Yeah, I'm also a small business owner. And for me, that was a huge effect on my small business. Because you don't work, you don't make money. I'm in the service industry. So that was huge. Also, when you have friends that are all in their younger age groups and they're all going out, having fun, going for drinks, and you have to say no, you realize really quickly who are the people that you want closest to you and who are the people that just have a good time. I had a really great support system because of the American Heart Association. So I had other women I knew with heart disease. I had people coming in and checking on me regularly. My family is very close. So it brought us stronger. So I guess, it was very difficult in the sense of I was missing out on a lot of things that would be normal for my age group. But I also learned really quickly the people that really cared about me the most in my life. And it actually made a lot of those friendships and family members stronger and closer.
That's right.
Very nice.
CJ,
Yes.
how about you? When did you first learn that you needed an organ?
When I first learned I needed an organ, it was maybe like 7 years ago. But before that, when I was playing basketball, I could never pass it. Like it was playing, like trying to get in the NBA, I could never pass a physical. And they would always be like, "You need to go see a cardiologist," you know. But me being young, I was like, "Oh, I'll just go to CBA, play in the ABA, or try to go overseas," because the testing process was a little bit different. And then one day I got up and I went for a jog, and I fell in the sand, and my hands turned purple and blue, and I was like, "Man, something ain't right." So I literally crawled to my car, and then that night, I had a dream, and I was like, "Okay, if you don't go to the hospital, you're going to die in this house." So I took myself to the hospital, and luckily I did, because they were like, "CJ, do you know what the ejection fraction number is?" I was like, "No." I said, "Well, yours is at a 17 right now." And I was like, "What's that mean?" It's like, "That's too low. Your heart is barely moving, and it's getting worse." So from there, I stayed in the hospital. I was in ICU for 11 months. And then, but when everything went bad, like she said, the swelling, my stomach got real swollen and bloated with fluid. I couldn't think clearly. And I just was like, if I laid flat, I started getting crazy coughs. I had to always be like in a certain type of position just to rest. And, and then, like I said, my hands and stuff were turning colors, and I just didn't want to eat. Everything hurt. Like she said, getting out of the bed hurt. Standing up hurt. Opening my eyes even hurt. Everything just started to hurt, and I just knew something was wrong. And when they came in there and told me I needed a heart transplant, I cried like a little baby.
Wow.
Man, this is it. I was like, Lord, it must be a wrap. This is what it is, but that's not what God had for me.
I hope you understand how important it is for you specifically to share your story. Josh, this is a running theme in the African American community, specific to men that are not so quick to go to the doctor. You said that you didn't want to go at first. You finally went when you had to. So that's a great message to us all, to get to the doctor's office on your regular appointments.
Yeah.
Absolutely. How about you, Earl? When did you first learn that you needed an organ?
Well, for me, the thing about kidney failure, you really don't get symptoms until the end, until you're at stage 5. And for me, it was really no different. Being a former athlete and working out all the time, I never really thought I was ill. One thing about being a black man and, growing up, so many people tell us to be tough, be strong, do this, do that. You don't need doctors. But, at this point, I'm able to say you're still a man if you go to a doctor for a cough. You're still a man if you go get checked out, just to see what's wrong annually. But for me personally, it wasn't until the end I started having flu-like symptoms, and I did what I normally would do. I just went and got some Benadryl. But this time that Benadryl didn't work. I started throwing up every day, and that Benadryl just wasn't working. So I went to a couple clinics, because that would be my go-to before I went to see a doctor. And they just said it's a stomach flu. It's a stomach flu. And one day I was out with my kids playing, and I just really lost like my breath. Like I just felt like I couldn't breathe anymore. And that was when my wife and I went to the doctor, and they did some blood work, and they called me. It was a couple weeks later. It happened to be on my birthday of all days. They told me that I had stage 5 kidney failure. I need to get to emergency right away, and that I was at high risk of having a heart attack. He actually said he couldn't believe that I was still walking around, because my creatinine level was at a 20, and the normal range is a 1. So everybody listening probably is at a 1, and you're feeling just fine. But if that creatinine creep up on you, it's going to hit you like a ton of bricks. The most healthiest, strongest person go down like a baby, and I was sobbing. I couldn't believe it. And but I'm grateful to have my brother, my whole family, to be honest. They all were willing. But my brother was like, "No, I'm doing this. I got this." And it all worked out.
Wow. Amazing. This question actually goes to everyone. I can imagine that there are so many challenges throughout this whole process, whether it be from being diagnosed to the treatment, the recovery. What was the biggest challenge for you during this experience?
I'll go first again. So surprisingly for me, the biggest challenge was getting someone to realize that I was getting sicker. So my heart condition that I grew up with, it's not one that's typically transplant worthy. Now that we're having more people survive, it's called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. Now that more people are surviving into their older ages and we have better care and treatment, we're also getting to what's called end-stage hypertrophic cardiomyopathy or end-stage heart failure, and it's not expected. So to get a doctor that understood my specific symptoms, understood that I was getting sicker and worse, and that my numbers, although they looked healthy, there was something severely wrong. That was really difficult. So I actually ended up going to 3 different doctors. The first one, kind of similar with Lee Earl's experience. The first one was like, oh, you're fine. We'll get an EKG or an echo in like a month and see what's going on, but you're okay. I don't know what you're talking about. The second one did notice I was in heart failure, but because I'm young, as a female, he didn't think that it was anything that needed to be addressed right away. And I went through a lot of different testing, pleading with my doctor to please consider that I needed a transplant sooner, that everything was just going to keep getting worse. And finally, I, was able to connect with someone with the Hypertrophic Cardiomyopathy Association. And she decided that it was good to give me an opportunity for a second opinion with a different doctor in transplant clinic. And he knew my condition. He'd seen it before. He'd seen transplant patients with my condition before. And he didn't want to take chances. And so he advocated for me to make sure I got on the transplant list. So from the moment I got told that I needed a transplant, but from that moment to actually getting listed was almost 8 months of just trying to get listed.
Yeah.
I think as women, we're great at hiding our symptoms. I think we're great at putting the world on our shoulders and taking care of problems. And it's really important to remember that when it comes to your health, you have to fight for yourself. Yeah. You have to be heard, and you cannot take no for an answer until you know that you've got the answer that's needed. So I'm really grateful for that. But that was the hardest part, was just getting on the list. And it's a lot harder than people think.
Yeah. Well said. For the viewing audience, be sure to invite your family and friends, use hashtag Let's Talk, and post your questions in the comments section. We have some great prizes on the way.
Oh,
CJ,
yes.
What was the biggest challenge for you?
So my biggest challenge, one was being not misdiagnosed so many times because of what I look like physically. I went to before I had the whole beach incident, I think I was going to the hospital for like 2 years. And they would just see me and be like, oh, you know, maybe that's a stomach virus, or you're dealing with bronchitis or some type of flu. So I'm at home. I'm doing soup diets for 2 weeks. I'm doing everything that I could do. And then, and I finally got up to UCLA, and they were like, nah, man, you're dealing with. So I had what they call idiopathic cardiomyopathy. And with my situation, I ended up on the list because I had to live on a assisted living device called a BiVAD. So it went through my stomach and pumped my heart for me until I was able to get a heart. And one of the most challenging things about my experience is I lost the ability to walk. So me having to learn how to walk again, and I had to be carried everywhere and all this crazy stuff, and it was such a humbling experience to, because I'm 6'6", I'm not a small dude. And so I got down to 150 pounds, and my resting weight is 240. And man, this is, I'm in the bed almost every day crying because, I got people coming in there washing me and cleaning me. And I'm like, man, this is not life. This cannot be life. But it's just me having to learn how to embrace the road was the challenge. Embrace my situation.
The journey.
Yes, if you don't embrace where you at while you're going through it, it's going to be that much tougher while you're in it. So I had to really learn how to embrace, meditate, know that God wasn't doing this to me, but it was happening for me for something greater to happen.
Yeah. Earl, did you have some of the same challenges? I could imagine you did too.
The thing about when you get a kidney transplant, especially getting it from my brother, which is a living donor, you actually start feeling better right away. Right away, started feeling better. But the recovery side of it, I was down probably 3 weeks. A lot of it mainly probably got to do with my youth and being pretty much in pretty good shape, But it was about 3 week recovery. The biggest part of it was the pain. just because, you getting surgery, so you getting cut open, that's never happened before. But the medication was a little bit of an adjustment. I did have another stint in the hospital where I had like a little minor infection going on, and I had to get on like an IV drip at home. But outside of that, I felt fine. Like within 3 weeks time, I was fine. Joshua came by the house and he's like, "Wow, I can't believe you guys are walking around," and it was fine. Harold was walking up and down the street.
Amazing.
Wow.
Josh?
Yes, Sharon, let's keep this conversation going. And the question I have is for everyone. We'll have Fab start first. Ladies first, remember that. All right. So, guys, can you talk about your position on organ and tissue donation before this experience and whether that shifted during the process of waiting for an organ, and for you, Harold, during the process of getting tested to see if you were even a match for your own brother?
Mm-hmm. Well,
we're gonna go to you, Harold, eventually. But yes, I'm gonna start with Fab, and then Harold next, and then CJ come in, and then we'll wrap this question up with Leo.
Okay. As far as organ tissue donation, you get your driver's license at 16, and you just check the box, and that's all I really thought of was, okay, if something were to happen to me, sure. What am I going to use my organs for? I'll just check the box. That's all it ever meant to me. I never thought that I was going to need an organ ever in my life. I think that's kind of like the blessing of youth, as you feel a little indestructible sometimes. And after the experience, for sure, it's a huge change. I'm a big advocate now for understanding what does that really mean, and trying to get people that may not even think to check that box that, think again, because somebody that you love that could be close to you could benefit from that donation. I had a lot of people in my life that never really thought about organ donation before. And once it was something that hit closer to home, whether it was, my dad's friends or my mom's friends or people in my family, they all started saying like, I'm going to change that. I didn't think about it before, but I'm going to make that change. So yeah, it was just a check on a box for me before, and now it's a mission, is getting people involved.
Well, for me, as being a donor coming from the other side, I feel like the main thing for me was the patience. I knew like a week after he needed a kidney that I was a match, and they still put me through situations where they was asking me every day, every time, "You sure you want to do this?" And in my mind, it's like, it's my brother. Of course I'm going to do this. I want to do this. This must be what some guys playing today, because I'm doing it. And what's changed is sometimes like people see me and they realize that I'm the donor, I'm the person who saved my brother. They just cry for me. It'd be like being a superhero or something. It'd be like the best feeling. But at the same time, I'm trying not to cry, because you don't see no superheroes cry, and I'm trying to hold it. And they just be crying and hold my hand and praying, and it'd be a good feeling. It'd be great. It'd be amazing. If you walk in the store and you see somebody you don't even know, and they just praying for you because they saw you in an article or they saw you on the news. So from being a donor, it was scary at first, but now it's like the most happiest thing I did in my life.
Nice. That's good. Well, for me, I was sort of like Fab. I would just check the box, and I didn't pay it no mind. I didn't understand the severity of it until I actually needed a heart. And I was like, wow, so this is what checking that box means. So now I have to wait, and see how that works out, But, I think organ donation, tissue donation, I think it is a blessing for us as humans to be able to have that be a part of all our journeys, because, we all are on this rock together, you know what I mean? And we're going through this space and time, and to have blessings upon blessings, like this was a blessing for all of us to be able to get, the brothers with the donation. Your brother was a match. Me and Fab getting the heart. It's just amazing. You know what I mean? So I'm a super advocate for organ donation. Here in California, we do things where we, try to get people signed up. And me as a black man, I try to talk to my brothers, my kings, and try to make sure I keep them understand, let them know, let's take the taboo off of it. They like, oh man, why am I gonna give somebody else this for? It's like, cause when you're about to die, you don't need it, bro. Your soul and your heart, they're not even communicating on that level at this point. So you should I think everybody should have be a little bit more willing and open-minded when it comes to organ and tissue donation. And if you don't want, at least listen and try to hear it out, because I think everybody should, and I'm so blessed that somebody was able to match with me, because I was a hard match at one time. And and I am very blessed and fortunate to be able to have this great conversation with all you beautiful people. So I'm very happy to be here.
All right. Leo, time in.
Yeah, I'm similar with Craig. Like I didn't really know much about the organ donation process. I didn't even know that you could live with one kidney. So when they told me that I could get a living donor, it was music to my ears, because when they initially said I was going to need a transplant, I'm thinking like, how am I going to get a kidney transplant? How is this going to work? And it was music to my ears. And my message is, and I know Harold can tell you all how well he's doing, that everybody, God has blessed us all with 2 kidneys. You can live and be just fine with one. There's so many people suffering, especially within our own community. We can help people. We can save lives. We can be real heroes.
That's right.
And we just got to come together as a community, and we can make this happen. But yeah, because it's a blessing, and again, for everyone on the other side, you never really know how it feels when someone is going through kidney failure. Like it is bad. I know, and my heart goes out to you, Fab, and you, Craig, because I know heart failure is bad too. But this is like one of the worst feelings. Like you wake up every day and you just feel drained. You're not yourself, and it's really bad. It's really hard to explain. It's really hard to explain. Because I knew I was looking like a skeleton for a while.
Well, Leo, I remember when I did the story on you. You were a little skinny.
Yeah, that's the first thing you said. That's the first thing you said when you saw me in the hospital. Like, oh my God.
But no, you're looking great, brother. I know it's difficult to explain, but you're doing a great job explaining it for sure. And my next question is kind of picking off one point you actually alluded to, Earl. When we know that there are a lot of misconceptions, multicultural communities, when it comes to organ and tissue donation, what misconceptions did you come across during your experience, and how did you address them?
You mean like from Black folks, like our own race?
Yeah. I mean, we're talking multicultural. Yeah, let's start with you, Leo. I mean, being a Black man in the Black community, what were the misconceptions you came across, and how did you address them?
Well, one of them was people being unaware and not having the knowledge to know about kidney donation, not understanding how important the kidney, how vital the kidney is to the rest of your organs, to your overall health, to how you feel. Even how vital the kidney is to your heart, to your cleansing your blood. Like when you drink your water, it's going into your kidneys. It's going all through your heart, straight to your blood, and your kidneys has to filter out all of your waste. And it's very, very important. Like it's really hard to pinpoint like exactly like culturally like how this affects us, but I just feel like we just has to just really get the knowledge about the kidney donor process and how the importance of the kidney, and we can save lives.
Harold, you giving your brother one of your kidneys, what were some of the misconceptions you encountered?
It's been times where I was a little discouraged about it, before it was, because some people that love you will tell you it's not the best thing to do. I wouldn't give a man. You would hear some of the craziest things through the process. And then when it's over and they see what's going on with you, they start thinking, I could help my family. I could do something for my family, and then they want to go jump in. So it's like it was a big confusion, in the beginning. But I was always ready for it. And the only misconception was the patience, for real. Like I was just tired of watching my brother lose so much weight. He was always bigger than me. For me to be bigger than him, it was scary. It was real scary. Like, no, know, he got to get back to his size. I got to do whatever I got to do. In any situation, you know, if it was a piece of liver, I'd have gave it to him. You could have half of my heart. We'd have made it.
Right on. Fab.
That's nice.
We gonna make it. We gonna make it.
Right.
Absolutely. Fab, give us your perspective.
So I'm actually Hispanic. I was born in Honduras, and I'm adopted, but my biological parents are both Honduran, and my adopted mother's Honduran. So I have quite a bit of culture still in my life. A huge group of Hispanic family members, and when you're Hispanic, everyone's your cousin. So one of the things that I noticed was just how much lack of education there was on what organ transplant meant and the process and what it was like. One of the first questions people would ask me is, when are you getting your heart transplant? You don't schedule it. Unlike living donor, like there's no chance that you can just say, oh, I'm going to get it next Tuesday. So that was a big misconception, was just not understanding the process. If you talk to people of Hispanic countries, especially first or second generation here in the United States, if you're looking at kids that were born in the United States or even family members that traveled from other countries, they don't have the medical care we do. They don't have the education on medical care that we do here. And for them, transplant is not a thing. It's very, very rare in Hispanic countries to receive transplant, especially third world countries, Central American countries. They don't have that access to care. So they don't understand what transplant means. They don't understand the process. And it's just for lack of education and exposure. So that was something I had to deal with a lot, was telling my family members how the process worked. There's a lot of distrust too. So telling them that, you know, this is a legal process. It is perfectly natural. It's within the hospital system. I have very great doctors and great care. And getting them to understand that this is something that's very possible to do, and also that you can thrive from it and that you can trust a doctor here. So I think there were a lot of layers of misconceptions, mostly just due to their exposure levels and where they come from and their access to care on their own.
Yeah.
Wow. CJ.
Yes, sir. So I'm going to piggyback off of Fabiola in regards to the information, the lack of information in the community. Mine was more so because I have family that are Jehovah's Witness, Catholics, and then I have my Muslim side family, and a lot of them don't believe in anything when it comes to tissue or organ donation. A lot of them are like, oh, you know, man, and I would just have to die then. You know, a lot of them had that type of attitude, or why did you? I had one of my cousins say, why did you do that? Like when you were supposed to go, that was God's timing for you. And I was like, no, actually, God was a part of the process, and that's why I'm still here.
Right.
But some people, you can't, you know, they lean on their own understanding so much to the point where they become so dumb and ignorant. It's like, man, you know, you got to open your eyes up a little bit more, you know, and try to embrace this journey, this being this human side of the journey, because, like, you know, the taboo with black folks, with black men, we don't want to go to the doctor, we don't want to do this, we don't want to do that. And then when it's time to, all of a sudden, you don't want, I always tell my father, you don't want to make things better for yourself when the doctor tell you have to. You want to try to do that before they tell you that, you know. And like, it's just so many different things, especially, you know, just the information, the lack of information, because I didn't know about tissue or organ donation until I was like maybe 18, 19, but I was checking the box anyway, you know, and that was just me. I was just being, you know, oh, okay, if I die, you know, somebody can have this, but I just knew that if I pass on, what I'm gonna need my kidneys for, what I'm gonna need my heart for, you know, skin grafts and all types of different things. So mine was more so breaking through the religious barrier with some families and friends, and trying to get them to understand that, you know, this is a part of the God process. You know, this is me getting this transplant was a part of the God process. So it was like that's what it was to me.
All right. Well, my next question is going to kind of pick back on everything we just spoke about a moment ago. I mentioned earlier there are over 2,500 people waiting on a transplant list. Over half of them are from multicultural communities of color. We can't move the needle on increasing the number of donors from these communities without having real talk. So all of you just laid out real experiences with misconceptions. How have you taken these experiences and misconceptions you encountered to educate people within your community, within your families going forward? Fab, let's start with you.
I think there's a lot of power in one-on-one communication. I think there's a lot of power in having personal experience. I think having people like myself and CJ and Harold and everyone just who has received an organ to not be afraid to get involved in their communities and start discussing what your experience is like and being honest with it. I think having an opportunity like this where you're bringing in different cultures and backgrounds and you're allowing for people of different backgrounds to be heard makes a huge difference. When I've worked with the American Heart Association, one of the things that they discussed is the lack of access and just for all minorities and dealing with that in medical care. So I think that's something that we can work on is providing more access, having those difficult discussions with family members. You don't think you're ever going to need an organ, but it's important to discuss that, discuss what would you want if something came up. I find that Hispanic people especially are very giving people. They're very loving. My mom is a person that will give you anything you ask for if it will help you. And that's very common. And I'm sure it is as well with Black communities, Asian communities. Like, we're very loving, caring people. And if you allow them to understand that this is a gift, that you're basically giving someone a gift and you're allowing them to continue their legacy, I think they'd be more open to it. So I think that has a lot to do with this, having the conversations, not being afraid to discuss your experiences, and not being afraid to discuss it with family members as far as your wants.
A lot of similarities for sure, Fab. One including we have a lot of cousins. Everybody's a cousin.
Yeah.
Sharon, we're getting some questions in from our audience. Let's have you pick out a few.
Oh, we're gonna do that now? Okay.
Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's get you. Don't keep the people waiting too long.
Okay, so we have some great prizes. So congratulations to those who have chimed in. James Hunt, you're going to win a prize today. His question is, what can or can't you do after the transplant on both sides? That's for anyone.
Okay. So
for the recipient, they told me no horseback riding. And they made me stand that that's because the horse can spook, kick you off, and stomp you. Like, the only other restriction was no more. If I choose to have a drink, no more than 2 drinks a day. No smoking. I'm not a smoker anyway. Other than that, I could pretty much do anything. No football. My football days over. I'm 38 now. No more football. But other than that, I could do anything that I choose to do. And it's pretty much it as far as the transplant. Probably more on the donor side.
Anyone else like to chime in?
Yeah. Well, for me, I could pretty much do like everything that I was able to do before.
Okay, amazing.
I had a few things that happened to me while I was sick that make it hard for me to do certain things. But in regards to having a transplant and all that, man, I wish I had this heart when I was younger playing basketball. I wouldn't have got so tired so fast.
Yeah.
But other than that, I really don't, obviously, the drinking and smoking, things like that. And, those are, no-nos. But, here and there, I will have a drink, but I won't try to abuse it. But I can go out there and hoop if I want to.
Amazing.
And, I just suck at doing push-ups now.
See, I got you beat on those.
Fabiola, anything you can or can't do since your surgery?
I can do everything, which
amazing.
is yeah, like I said, I grew up with heart disease, so there was a lot I couldn't do. Anything that increased cardiac activity, I love to dance, I couldn't dance. I could never be into athletics. So for me, this is literally a second chance of opportunity of life. I am now interested in competitive bodybuilding, so I do heavy lifting at the gym. Every day I run, which I couldn't do before.
We have no excuses. The rest of us have no excuses at all.
So, I mean, you'd never expect a 5'4", 145-pound girl to be doing some of the weight training I do, but I do. So really, organ donation afterwards, you can have a very normal and very fulfilling life without a problem, as long as you don't get sick. That's the key.
Right, that's the key. That is
Yeah.
the key.
Thank you so much for all the audience participation. Again, continue to invite your friends and family. Use hashtag Let's Talk. James Hunt, you have your choice of prizes, which are Tigers tickets, Detroit Tigers tickets.
Yeah.
He's going to choose from also My Flight Tour. It's a 30-minute flight, helicopter ride around Metro Detroit. And he'll be able to choose from Atwater Brewery. Those are our 3 prizes for this evening. Congratulations to James Hunt. Another question. Keep the questions coming. Sharice James.
Okay, you read my mind, Sharon.
Oh,
Go
you
for
want
it.
to go? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, one that caught my attention with Sharice James. Can you share tips that gave you motivation not to give up?
Great one.
Oh,
I'll totally chime in on this.
yeah.
Uh,
I'll wait.
So I created a post-transplant bucket list. It was literally a list of things that I was determined to do after my transplant, and I put them in order. I put them in order of things that were like the most important to like probably maybe not going to happen, but I'd like to happen. That kept me going a lot. I have, like I said, really good supportive group of friends and family. So having people checking in on me kept me moving and going. It's the little wins. When you've been as sick as we all were, and you've been bedridden and unable to do the things that you love, it's getting up and like, hey, today I walked a mile, or today I was able to make my own dinner. When you lose so much, you become so appreciative of every little thing. So
That's right.
I'm a big fan of bucket lists. I think they're amazing, and I've been checking them off as I go.
Yeah. So I want to get in on that. So like Fab, I did the same thing, but mine was a little bit different because I had a lot of clothes. I told myself I want to wear everything in my closet when I get out of here. And so when I got out the hospital, I wore everything in my closet. I was so happy. Like, what are you so happy about? I was like, man, I actually went through my closet, and they thought I purged it. But I'm like, no, I actually wore everything in my closet. At the time, I was a little bit too thin. Stuff was falling off of me, but I didn't care. I was like, man, I'm gonna wear this because like this was one of the like she said, the small wins. It was just something in my head that I just wanted to be able to walk up and down the stairs a couple times, go to the refrigerator and get my own ice. You know what I mean? Take a shower and sit there and stare in the mirror. You know, I just kept all those things in my head. And then I had a few songs that I played in my head that just would not, they were on repeat on daily, I listened to No Weapon Formed Against Me about 1,000 million times. And it played in my head, every day, nonstop, because I knew I was in a bad situation, but I knew I was going to get through the situation. So I didn't allow negativity to creep in. And that's another thing that we should touch on really quick. Staying away from negative thoughts and trying to keep that stuff away from you is key in this process of trying to get better and heal.
Well, for me, never giving up. My motivation was my family, my wife and my 3 girls. Mm-hmm. That was my main motivation, and I'm a very spiritual man. I knew that despite God having me going through what I went through, I knew it was just setting me up for something bigger and something better.
That's
and
right.
The blessings are overflowing. I can't brag more about how great things have gone, but the situation, going through the process, is what gave me the strength to see it through and just not give up. It was a shot in the arm of adrenaline. I swear, and it just keeps me going every single day.
Yeah, that's nice.
Amazing. So James Hunt, he says he wants Detroit Tigers tickets. So that's what you'll get. And we will reach out to all the winners that we're pulling today via Facebook. We'll do one more question from Kay Turner. Congratulations. What are other signs that you may have noticed before and after the transplant that may be life-changing for you or there to watch for?
And where do I start? I know Fabiola want to comment on this too, because I got a couple, but I'm if she wants to go.
Go ahead, PJ, you start this one off. It's about you.
So some signs for me that were like I started, like the ability to raise my arms over my head, it became tough. Putting on my clothes, getting up off the floor, and walking up just like maybe 1 or 2 steps became a task. I would just sit. I would literally like stare at steps, and people were like, "What's wrong with you? See?" I'm like, "Man, this ain't gonna be right. It's gonna take me an hour to get up 13 steps, and it was bad. And then the energy thing is major. Like the lack of energy, especially when you're young, man, you ain't supposed to be sitting there like, like, oh, I don't want to go for a walk or this. I just did. The energy was gone, and for me, my body just was talking to me. My hands were turning purple and blue. I would just break out into crazy sweats for no reason, and it was just, just a lot of little small things that I wouldn't have correlated with my heart, but I was going through organ failure because everything was being suffocated because of the swelling on the inside. So it was just a whole lot of little different things that was going on. Yeah. Anybody?
Okay, so for me, I think what's important is to note that like I had heart disease, so I had already issues that I was dealing with on a regular basis. I think it's important to be aware of what your normal is, because everyone has different health conditions. Everybody has their own struggles, and if you find that you're having things that are beyond your normal, one of the key things that I guess was life changing, I could say too. The first one that really stood out for me was the feet swelling. Like I said, I'm generally healthy, and to notice that like at the end of a day when my feet were so swollen that I couldn't even put my socks and my shoes on, that was very abnormal.
Yeah.
And it was actually, I was unaware of what was going on exactly. I knew I had symptoms, but I hadn't seen a doctor yet. And I WebMD'd myself. And sure enough, it said heart failure. And when I read that and it started to click and I read all the other symptoms, I broke down. And that was a big life-changing moment. The other one was something as simple as going grocery shopping. That's something that anyone should be able to do within their limits. I couldn't go to the grocery store and walk around the grocery store and not come home and need a nap. And that level of fatigue was very abnormal for me. So I think if you want to know what to watch for, be aware of what your normal is and look for signs outside of that. Because we are, like I said, we're great at putting things aside and ignoring ourselves and our bodies. But it's important to know what your body is telling you and pay attention to those little tiny signs, just like Susan said.
Lee Earl, would you like to chime in?
Well, some of the signs for me was, like I said before, you're going to feel like you have a sinus infection. That was one of the first symptoms. The headaches, really sinus pressure, really stuffiness. You might get joint pain, because I had knee pain, vomiting, things like that. Those are feelings I never want to feel again. If I do feel it, it better be mild,
Right.
But, so those are some of the things that you want to look out for with kidney failure. Also, you could have pain in your back area. I never had that. Oh, and shortness of breath. Believe it or not, your kidney, it puts a lot of oxygen and things into your white blood cells and your red blood cells. And without that, you're pretty much getting ready to pass out. Sometimes I would struggle just climbing the stairs. But, that's pretty much about it. Like I said, I'm just grateful to still be here and doing what I love to do.
That's right. Well, congratulations to all the winners. Kay, James, and Sharice. They had their pick of the following prizes: Detroit Tigers tickets, My Flight Tour, gift cards, a helicopter around Metro Detroit. That sounds so fun.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Atwater Brewery gift cards. We have 3 additional winners that we pre-selected. Congratulations to Pepper, Mary Beth Bloom, and Deborah Daring. Congratulations, and thank you so much for joining us. I guess we're about ready for the takeaways, Josh. This is a great conversation.
Great conversation indeed. Guys, what is one thing you want to leave everyone with tonight? Fab, start with you. Lee Earl, Harold, CJ, in that order. What is one thing you want to leave everyone with tonight?
Be your own advocate. Really fight for your life. And don't be afraid to do what you have to do to make sure that you get the healthcare you need. If you don't speak the same language as your doctor, if you don't have medical care, if you don't have health insurance through your job, find a way to make sure that you're always going to be taken care of. And don't be afraid to do that, because especially, young adults, we're not thinking about these things. You need to be aware. You need to be in the know. You need to be prepared, because things do happen outside of your expectations. So if you can do one thing for yourself, it is to fight for your life. You're worth it. You're worth your life.
Yeah.
Was it on me,
That's
Nick?
Leo.
Yeah. Okay. My message is pretty much to all the men, because I know that all of our women go to their doctors regularly. All men out there, don't stop thinking you're too tough to go to the doctor. You know you're not. You know what I'm saying? If you don't feel bad if you want to go in for a cough or things like that, because that's when you find out things. Don't think that you're too young to go. I used to have this thing in my mind. I'm gonna start going every year once I turn 35. Stop thinking that. Go to your doctor, visit your doctor, listen to your doctor. They are there to help you, to help care for yourself. Kind of like Fab said, if you don't have insurance, find a way to get it. We have the Affordable Care Act, but visit your doctor regularly, and don't ignore anything. Don't ever feel like you're too strong or you're too tough. You're still a man if you go. You're still a man.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Harold.
I really I would like everybody to know, like, if you ever feeling some type of illness or any type of way that you would need to, go get checked out. You never know what it could be. You never know how it came, where it came from. Like after the surgery, they was telling me, don't stay away from anybody with COVID. You can't catch pneumonia. Then COVID came, so I was terrified. I was staying in the house, staying away from anybody, everybody. I can't catch pneumonia. I don't want COVID. So
Right.
anytime I had a bad cough or if I had a sneeze, I was running back to the doctor. They were like, "Why is you here again?" I don't know. I got one kidney. Check me out. Check me out. I had to make sure. And that's all. That's all I got to say about it. I just,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm basically about to piggyback off everybody. I'm gonna throw, y'all. They basically covered all the bases. So I'm one of those guys that said, I believe in communication. Please be your own best advocate. Please
That's
speak
right.
up. Another thing about going, because I was a hypochondriac, so I would go to the hospital or doctor. My friends thought I was crazy, but I just was in tune with my vessel. So I would always people listen to your body, like she said, like Fab said, know what your normal is, and if that normal starts to decrease, that's when you start to pay more attention, or you start, at least make some notes, and that's really it. Just pay attention to your body. Don't be scared to speak up, and like Lee Earl said, man, that macho man stuff. That man, I can chew on bricks.
right.
Nah, big
Get that out of here.
Right.
go
That's right.
get yourself looked at, man. Don't be one. So just be out here and just try to live your best life, because you only get one spin at the wheel.
That's right. Josh, I want to reiterate, for those who won prizes, we will reach out to you via Facebook, Gift of Life Michigan, but feel free to send a message to them as well with your contact information.
All
Congratulations
right.
again.
Yes, congratulations to the winners, the panelists. Thank you for your stories. Very, very incredible to hear all of your perspectives, what you have experienced, and how it has changed your lives for sure. I am confident that our listening audience has learned quite a bit, to say the least. Everyone timing in saying thank you for having this conversation. And these kinds of conversations are needed more often.
That's right.
And even if we're not doing it virtually or at a big event, we need to have these conversations more often in person with our family members, with our loved ones, our friends. That kitchen table conversation, it needs to happen on a regular basis. That's how we create change. That's how we create more awareness within our communities.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's good,
So,
man. Be blessed, man. This is great.
Absolutely. And so before we leave, I want to leave everyone with a very powerful video from a musical artist. You may have heard of him, Freeway. Let's take a listen.
I'm Philadelphia Freeway, world-renowned recording artist, founder of Freedom Thinkers Academy, Music, Health, Education, and Culture. I'm a kidney transplant recipient, and I'm also a donor dad. Being a kidney transplant recipient is one of the best things that ever happened to me. It doubled my life expectancy. I'm able to move around. I'm able to tour. I'm able to travel. I'm able to spend more time with my family. Food tastes amazing. My life is very hopeful now. That's one of the main reasons why I'm an advocate for good kidney health. In October of 2020, my son passed away. It's a tragedy. It affected my family tremendously, and it's still affecting us. But one good thing about the whole situation is, in passing, my son was still a hero. He was an organ donor. He saved 4 lives. Organ transplantation is very important to me. I've been on both sides. I know how it feels to be waiting for a life-sustaining organ. And in February of 2019, when I received my kidney transplant, it changed my life tremendously. That's why I feel very, very blessed that my son was able to be an organ donor and save 4 lives. Donate Life America is very, very important. Be a donor. Save some lives.
Nice.